Had a book launch on February 3rd at City Lights, Penetrating Whiteness. The book that's going live tonight. You will all see her at the conference, so check her out. This is I Have a Nightmare. I Have a Dream. This is I Have a Nightmare. When I look at the times we are facing today, I can't help but believe that I am in a nightmare. It's a nightmare that appeared to be a dream at first glance, but rapidly vaporized into mist. I have a nightmare that black people will continue to be slaughtered in the streets by the boys in blue. I have a nightmare that I will never be good enough in some pale eyes to take a seat at the table in certain boardrooms in America. I have a nightmare that the prisons will continue to be overstocked with people who look like me. I have a nightmare that there will always be an excuse to keep me on the outside looking in. I have a nightmare that I fear the people who look like me as well as the boys in blue, because the people who look like me have been driven to insanity, imprisoned in depraved and horrid living conditions that aren't fit for human beings. I have a nightmare that my peoples were dragged out of their homes and land far away to serve someone else's dream while being unwilling participants in their own nightmare. I, Rastafari. What, did somebody call me a nigger, jigaboo, spook, spear chunker, sambo? I have a nightmare, I tell you. I can't wake up. I can't see. I can't even open my eyes. I have a nightmare that nobody gives a fuck. I have a nightmare that it's all about money, ain't a damn thing funny. I have a nightmare that I don't want to live anymore. I quit. I'm done. You don't love me? Well, I don't love me. Now that makes two of us. What the hell do you want? My body? There you go. My words? There you go. My thoughts? There you go. My music? There you go. My rhythms? There you go. There you go. There you go. I have a nightmare that I'll never be enough. I have a nightmare that they will always get away with it. I have a nightmare that I don't matter. I have a nightmare that I'm an outlaw, an intruder, a criminal. I have a nightmare that I woke up from in someone else's dream and that they're trying to chase me back from where I came from. And I can't figure out where that is. Can you help me? No, don't shoot. I don't want, no, I'm not gonna rob you, rape you, dominate you, brutalize you, change everything that you love about you. I ain't gonna do that because I have a nightmare that I can't breathe. I have a nightmare that I can't speak. I have a nightmare that I'm good enough. I have a nightmare that I'm a fraud. I have a nightmare that I'm stupid. I have a nightmare that I'm ugly. I have a nightmare that I make everything worse. I have a nightmare, you hear me? A nightmare that I can't speak for myself. I have a nightmare that I can't call out racism when I see it, hear it, feel it, taste it, smell it. I have a nightmare that I will only make white people angry by calling out racism. And like the Hulk, you won't like them when they're angry. You think you're in a nightmare now? Yeah, I'm in a freaking nightmare. I have to wake up. There's always a way to wake up. No, they ain't, bro. That's called death. That's why they call it awake. But you have a ways to go before you open that door. I have a nightmare, but I want to have a dream. Sorry, dream shop's closed. We ain't trying to serve you today, boy. I have a nightmare. Can't you see I can't breathe? You best grab an inhaler before I tighten this noose around your neck. I have a nightmare that there's no way to make as much as a white man doing the same job. I have a nightmare that even though more whites get arrested, more blacks are in prison disproportionately than whites. I have a nightmare that there is literally no place to be somebody. I have a nightmare that I'm accused of being a racist by racists, and I'm accused of playing a victim by victimizers. I have a nightmare that there's a bounty on my head. I have a nightmare that I should be dead. I have a nightmare that slavery is back. I have a nightmare that slavery never left. I have a nightmare that exotic Negroes are treated like commodities. I have a nightmare that everyday Africans are treated like Americans are treated like niggas. I have a nightmare that me and my peoples all get Oscars because we sure enough deserve them for acting as if we're sane in conditions that have driven us out of our damn minds. I have a nightmare that while we're in corporate America, they say one thing in front of you and another thing behind your back. I have a nightmare that just in corporate America. I have a nightmare that I can't breathe. Did I say that already? Because it don't seem as if nobody heard me. I can't fucking breathe. I say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Who you kidding? I have a nightmare that we've forgotten our revolutionary origins. I have a nightmare that we've forgotten the Civil War. I have a nightmare that the blue coats didn't win. I have a nightmare that the blue coats became gray coats, became cops, became blue coats again, and we definitely didn't win. At least not my peoples. I have a nightmare that 1.5 million black men are missing, that 1 in every 6 black men ages 24 to 54 has disappeared from civic life. I'm here, I'm not missing, I'm counted. I have a nightmare I don't count. I have a nightmare that nobody gives a fuck. I have a nightmare that everybody thinks I've been in prison. I have a nightmare that my chances of getting a job as a black college grad with no criminal record are the same as a white male ex-con. I have a nightmare that my chances are worse. I have a nightmare that everybody thinks I have a knife, gun, weed, coke, crack. I have a nightmare that they want to see my ghetto pass. I have a nightmare that they want to see my gangster pass. I have a nightmare that I can't deliver. I have a nightmare that there's no point. I have a nightmare that I want the train to stop. I have a nightmare that I want to get off. I have a nightmare that is illegal. I have a nightmare that sex is uncivil and violence is civil. I have a nightmare that I can't reach it. I have a nightmare that it's as sweet as sugar. I have a nightmare that I have diabetes. I have a nightmare that I have AIDS. I have a nightmare that I'm shot down in the streets again and again and again. I have a nightmare that I deserve it for taking up space. I have a nightmare that I'm too angry, too loud, too soft, too nice, too mean, too black, too strong, too white, too mixed, too much. I have a nightmare that I woke up and I had the same nightmare all over again. I had a dream that I asked why.